Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, May 13th. Welcome to Friday the 13th. Dun, dun, dun. I'm joking. It's actually a very positive day. It's a very lucky day. The reason why the 13th, the number 13 especially, has been so demonized in our realm is because of the power that it actually holds, because it is a key to some great manifesting energy. And of course, Friday being ruled over by Venus, by Freya, if you will, which are essentially the same energies, the same goddess energy, is the feminine divine. And if we know anything from living in upside down world, we know that anything that they want us to believe in is actually the opposite. Therefore, the female, feminine divine energy, the creator, the one who gives birth to the elements here on this earth plane, Mother Earth herself, feminine divine energy. 13 is a very powerful number. It does result down to the number of 4. 4 is ruled over by Cancerian energy, the mother, the nurturer, the goddess herself, the many phases of all the divine energy. So for those of you that are very superstitious, thinking that Friday the 13th is something to be feared, you have been brainwashed into thinking that. Many of the, what we'll call small groups of powerful people out there have created this narrative against the things that they want the collective to fear, so that they are the only ones that have access to this power, to this control, to this manifesting energy. So we are definitely in a state of power today. We have the moon in Libran energy. Venus, of course, rules over Libran and Taurus energy. We are still in Taurus season. We are having the moon in Libra. This is a double Venus event. On Friday, that Venus rules over. On the 13th, that the feminine goddess energy derives from. So we definitely got a lot going on. Of course, we are still in eclipse season. We have the full moon, total lunar eclipse taking place on Monday. And we are in retrograde season. So there's a lot of review, a lot of redo, a lot of recalibration, reorganizing, restructuring going on. And many of us definitely along for the ride. Very crazy, very chaotic. So with the moon in Libra, we are definitely trying to find middle ground, balance, peace, harmony. We're trying to keep things light and fluffy. We're trying to stay in the shallow end. We're trying to find the joy and the pleasure even in our uncomfortable circumstances. And with 11 different aspects taking place here today, 10 of them involving the moon in Libra, we are definitely going to battle it out in our mental plane, in our heart space, many of us in our physical circumstances, in order to figure out where the imbalances are, where the extremes are, where the dualistic decisions and feelings and perspectives and choice points are. And for many of us, it's not going to feel that nice. We do start the day off with the sun conjunct the true node. This is a powerful, powerful energy, mostly because the true node is our soul's destiny point, our mission point. And the sun, of course, as we've been exploring, anytime that the sun makes a direct hit, a direct aspect with any other planet, star, true node in this point, mathematical calculation of the true node, the moons of the true node moons, if you will, is a renewal, is a huge illumination, is a huge infusion of power, of will, of determination to get on the right path. So it's hard to get on the right path right now because we are at the mercy of eclipse season. Many of us feeling very, very uncomfortable in this energy, like we are in a snow globe or we are in a washer machine, just having to go through the process and the cycle. Yes, there are many things changing very rapidly, most of all information and our inner realm. Many of us not seeing the fallout yet in our physical circumstances. That will come a little bit later. But things are rapidly progressing, rapidly transforming. And this full moon, total lunar eclipse in Scorpio, is all about transformation, reaching that boiling point, reaching that particular explosion point of what it is that we've been trying to keep to ourselves, that actually needs to come out in order for us to not only make the people in our lives be very clear on where it is that we stand, but for us to declare within ourselves and to the cosmos, to the universe, where it is that we actually want to take this new chapter, this new life lesson, these new soul contracts. We are in a state of undoing so that we can redo it in a better way. So the sun bumping into the true node in this way is pushing us to evolve, pushing us to grow. We want to improve. And of course, many of us wanting those changes to have happened already, happened yesterday. Many of us very hesitant to do the inner work necessary in order to level up our state of understanding, awareness, and consciousness on where it is that we have played a hand in creating the physical circumstances that we are no longer content with. And in doing so, pushes us to see where it is that we actually still have power in our lives. And of course, as I've been preaching, the one thing that you have 100% power and control over is how you are reacting and responding to your external realm. You have that choice. You have the choice in how you're framing it up. You have the choice in how you're going to feel about it. And you have the choice on whether or not you are going to get involved with the circus that is currently taking place in our external realm. So this is going to be a huge, I'm going to say, illumination on where it is that we're being pushed to grow, to transform the most. And, like I said, we're approaching the ending of this eclipse cycle until we backburner it to the fall. And we, in Taurus season, need to get a grip. Taurus season is running out. We only have a couple of days left. We got to get a grip on what it is that we're being pushed into letting go of, because Taurus is all about the physical attachments that we have. That's why many of us are being rocked right now in our physical circumstances to detach from some of the things that we've gotten overly attached to. And B, where it is that we are being kind of pushed into creating, building, birthing brand new elements, brand new foundations, structures, routines, relationships in our lives. So this is definitely going to be a huge illumination on what it is that we got to get focused on, what it is we got to get to work in building, where it is that we have to evolve the most instead of revolving around the same old, same old. So the moon in Libra is going to sit across from and oppose Chiron, the wounded healer. Of course, Libra energy sits across from Aries energy. Chiron, the wounded healer, is in Aries energy, illuminating for us where our ego identity has taken a hit. Now, the moon in Libra wants to find balance, wants to find peace, wants to find joy and happiness in the deconstruction that we're currently going through in our own individual identity in order for us to be reborn, rebirthed. Okay, it doesn't feel good, but we have to oppose the darkest parts within ourselves in order to bring them into our consciousness, be aware of them. That's why it's so important to be triggered and to be conscious of your triggers, because that's where the healing work needs to be done the most. The moon in Libra wants to keep things light and fluffy, wants to stay in the shallow end, wants everybody to be happy-go-lucky. But the thing about wounds is that they're painful and they're not light and fluffy. They don't stay in the shallow end. You have to do a deep dive within your psyche, within your heart space to get to the primary root, the cause of the pain, of the trigger, of the activation, of the suffering. The moon is going to bump into Uranus in not the nicest way, and I'll give you a heads up. This is likely going to be an outside situation. Something's going to pop off. Maybe you had plans and your plans are being disrupted. Maybe you're gaining insight and information that totally changes your perspective, the way that you see yourself, the way that you see your relationships, the way that you see the plans that you had for yourself. The moon in Libra bumping into the Great Awakener that Uranian energy is here to shake up our foundation, our physical realm, to show us where it is we don't have control, to force us inwards to realize where we do have control. And this doesn't feel good. It creates a state of chaos. It creates an opposition in us because we're trying so hard to stay light and fluffy and positive and focus on the good and control the elements that we have control over. However, Uranian energy is just like the person that picks up the snow globe and vigorously shakes it so that nothing can be seen, that everything is swirling and needs a little bit of time to resettle. So, this is creating a lot of emotional chaos. Many of us, in a state of emotional chaos and mental chaos because of the eclipse season, because of the retrograde, because we are approaching the full moon, total lunar eclipse, which is just going to be absolutely cray-cray. The moon goes ahead and bumps into the true node. The moon goes ahead about 20 minutes later and bumps into the sun. Luckily for us, these are both very positive aspects. So here's the thing. The moon in Libra bumping into the true node, bumping into the sun, is illuminating for us where it is that we have to gain a little bit more perspective and a grounding point. So that earlier situation that popped off, that's going to create a lot of emotional chaos. Now we're doing a little bit of compromise. We're doing a little bit of cooperating within ourselves. We're likely trying to, smooth things over in our physical realm if the situation that popped off required us to do so. The moon bumping into the true node is trying to show us where it is that we have to take a little bit more of a balanced approach in the steps that we're currently trying to concoct within ourselves to move forward, to improve, to grow. The moon then bumps into the sun, and anytime that the moon and the sun get together, it's an illumination of our emotions, our unconscious self, past emotions that are currently dictating our present moment, and in most cases, our future. The sun in Taurus is trying to show us where it is that we do have to detach and abandon our old thoughts, our old feelings, our old set of circumstances in order to start fresh, in order to build something new, in order to recreate ourselves. We're in a retrograde. This is time of reinvention, rebranding. And the moon will further go ahead and bump into Mercury, which is going to illuminate where it is that our heart and our head is not on the same page with one another. And therefore, we can't make long-term goals right now. We can't make long-term plans, nor should we. We're in eclipse season. So, there is a little bit of friction because Mercury, as you know, ruler of the mental plane, is in Gemini, its place of power. So there's a lot to be said for the mental stimulation, the mental processing, our thoughts, our ideas. But Mercury is also retrograde. So we have this element of parts of us trying to kind of project ourselves past the present moment in order to focus on the future, while there's all these other very powerful aspects saying, listen, there's no point in thinking about the future when you have a mess from your past that you still have to create and clean up. There's this element where there's not a slate, there's not a clean space for us to bring the physical elements into our here and now that are going to help build our future path, our future goals, our future dreams, because there's too much residual energy, emotions, circumstances, thoughts, ideas that we haven't cleaned up yet from the past. And so this little conflict between the moon in Libra and Mercury, who is retrograde in Gemini, this is a lot of mental pressure, first and foremost, but we're also not finding a common ground. We're not finding that comfortable zone in this present moment, because it's almost like our past selves and our futuristic selves are fighting over who gets to dominate the choices, the decisions, the releasing, the cleansing, the healing, the actions that are taking place in the here and now. I'm going to tell you, from about noon time, Eastern Standard Time, to early evening, let's say 7 p.m., it's going to be bumpy. And for this reason, the moon in Libra goes ahead and bumps into Mars, who is in Pisces, bumps into the true node, bumps into the sun again in not the nicest aspects. So what do we got going on here? Well, first of all, Mars, who rules over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, our anger, if need be, is in Piscean energy, stunted out, passive aggressive, focused on feelings, dreams, inspiration, and intuition. Well, the thing about this Mars energy, especially still being in Pisces energy, is that we're not making any progress in our physical realms, which just absolutely frustrates us to no end. And because Mars is in Piscean energy, waiting to move into its place of power in Aries, where things are really going to hit the ground running on the 24th of this month, we are kind of stunted out. We're confused. We're running away from current circumstances. We're overwhelmed with thoughts and emotions. We don't know what direction to take. That's very much the Piscean energy, the escape artist of the zodiac. When we get overwhelmed, we tend to shut down. We tend to want to numb. And that is absolutely not helping us clean up any elements from the past that need to be rectified before we go ahead and start making any plans for the future. And it's definitely not helping us. It's not motivating us, not inspiring us, it's not proving the right kind of energy to get us inspired to make any kind of action in our physical realm. When the moon goes ahead and bumps into the true node, which is our destiny point, it's our soul's path in not the nicest way. Now we are super confused on what it is that we should be focused on. Because the true node wants us to focus on what we should be moving closer to. So I often talk about the bridge, right? The bridge that we need to be building to bridge the gap from where it is that we're at to where it is that we want to be. Well, we don't know where it is that we want to be. So many things have been popping off. We're in a state of confusion. We're waiting for the snow globe to calm down a little bit for us to even gain a set of coordinates on where it is that we're at. Too many things are taking place, but yet nothing is changing. Again, this is all very energetic. It's all soul contracts. It's all very karmic in nature. If anything else, it's ideas and emotions that are changing, not the actual physical circumstances. Again, those physical circumstances will be changing based off of the energy, based off of our thoughts, based off of our ideas and what it is that we actually want for ourselves. But the physical circumstances aren't changing right now. This is very much an energetic realm situation that is changing very rapidly, that is creating the chaos in our mental planes and in our heart space. So as far as the true node is concerned, we are at this point allowing old thoughts, old emotions, past situations to block us from thinking clearly about what it is that we want to do in a futuristic realm. We know we want to grow. We know we want to change. We know we need to transform. We know we need to move forward, but we have no freaking clue what that looks like. We have no clue what that even could resemble at this point. And then when the moon goes ahead and bumps into the sun, as we talked about earlier, and in not the nicest way, the earlier aspect between the moon and the sun was a positive one. So it showed us where it is that we were too connected to the old, where it is that we needed to embody more qualities and characteristics of the sun being in Taurus, of what it is that we want to build, create, and give birth to. This particular aspect is a tough one. So again, we're playing off the earlier situation that popped off, the disruption, the change to plans, the information coming in, changing our perspective, the way we're framing things up, our thoughts, our emotions, our plans for the future, that element of chaos that's currently taking over. We're playing off that energy. And the moon in Libra bumping into the sun right now is doing nothing but putting us at odds with what it is that we actually want, need, and desire, not only for ourselves, but where the relationship factor comes in. Again, retrogrades and eclipses will sort out the false, fake, unaligned relationship dynamics that we should have chosen to end on our own free will, that the universe is now going to kind of push into the element of change and transformation for us to detach from it, because our attachments to it is preventing us from creating the space where the proper relationships need to be built, need to be created, need to have a space to even enter into our realms. So the moon and the sun coming together right now is really showing us where we're overly attached to the old, where it is that we're afraid to embody the new, where it is that we are trying to romanticize and talk ourselves into what we know is a false reality of our current circumstances, all to prevent ourselves from bossing up and taking the change, taking the transformation, taking the roles, the responsibilities, the next set of contracts seriously. We're almost running from ourselves at this point. And it can create not only a disconnect within ourselves, but it is also illuminating for us where the relationship dynamics in our life is not providing us with the safety and the security that we were hoping for. We're going to end the day off with the moon trining Saturn, which is a good thing for us. Saturn, of course, is the Lord of karma, ruling over roles and responsibilities, ruling over the next level that we're supposed to be bossing up to. The moon, of course, in Libra wants to keep things light and fluffy, wants to compromise. Now, here's the thing. We might find ourselves getting a real solid reality check with Saturn, right? That's when negative Nancy usually comes out to play. But right now it's going to be realistic Rebecca that comes out and gives us a good little bitch slap of truth across our face. And this is a time for us to muster up the courage and the bravery to do what we have to do in order to see where it is that we're being pushed out of certain circumstances that maybe we've been overly attached to and have identified too much with, in order for us to see where it is that we're really being asked to level up. Now, the moon in Libra, trining Saturn in this way, is going to make us feel like we are willing to do the work, willing to do what we have to do, especially within the roles and responsibilities that we've identified in our life that we need to move away from. Again, Saturn is an Aquarius energy trying to give us a vision and a goal on what it is that our future selves want to be living in order for us to break that down into manageable, tangible pieces that we can have control over in the here and now, so that we can start building, again, that bridge that's going to help us take us from where it is that we're at to where it is that we want to be. Now, just a couple minutes later, literally 3 minutes later, we're going to have the moon bump into Neptune. And this is going to be a not so nice situation, because Neptune, who is in Pisces, rules over our higher self, our intuition, rules over our dreams, rules over also delusion, lies, deception, escapism, because we're overwhelmed. And that's very much what I think is probably going to be highlighted the most, is just when we get this very, very small window where we're bossing up, where we feel like we can compromise, where we can dig ourselves out of past situations, thoughts, emotions, and circumstances in order to rise above, step into the new roles and responsibilities that are being offered to us. Suddenly, we lose that glimmer of hope. And this Neptune energy can overwhelm us. And especially where the moon in Libra is just wanting to find a middle ground, we find that middle ground through exploring the extremes. And right now, we're extremely overwhelmed with our emotions, with our thoughts, with the chaos of our inner realm and the uncomfortability of our exterior realm. And we would really like to think at this point that we could elevate our consciousness and attach to our higher self and tap in to the dream, to the vision, to the insights that we have been getting. But again, we've been a little bit disconnected from the higher realms through this eclipse energy. We're grasping at straws here because, again, we're losing hope, we're losing faith that our dream is even possible, that the vision that we once had that inspired us to do all this work, to break away from, old relationships, old constructs, old ideas, the old version of ourselves, we aren't able to attach to the higher realms to give us that validation, that confirmation that our current physical circumstances are not what it is that we are setting ourselves up for. So, over this past couple of weeks, you've been listening to me say, do not allow yourself to buy in to this physical realm, and do not think for 2 seconds that these physical circumstances are going to be your long term, because we've had to have hope. We've had to have faith. We've had to align with our dreams, with our vision, with our intuition, with our higher self, in order to see what is possible for us. And that is outside of the realm of our physical circumstances right now. But right now, because we're having a hard time attaching to our higher self, because right now we are in retrograde season and eclipse season and everything is hella confusing, we're having a hard time not falling victim to thinking that we are stuck in our current circumstances and that we are never going to get out. So this Neptune energy disconnects us from being able to have that vision, have that dream, have that validation by aligning with our higher self, having that gut reaction, knowing that there's a bigger, greater, grander plan at play. And instead, we are falling victim to this 3D physical earth, physical reality. And many of us are starting to panic because we don't see that we are able to get out of the physical circumstances that many of us are just struggling to get out of right now. So again, we are just days away from the full moon total lunar eclipse, which is just going to amplify things to the nines. And as we build up towards the moon, moving into Scorpio, which it will do early tomorrow, Saturday morning, we are really kind of feeling the extremes, the dualities, the polarized circumstances that we're living in right now in order to figure out where balance is needed the most.